540, Big 550 KTRS. I got a book in the mail not too long ago. It's called Finally, a locally produced guidebook to St. Louisans by and for St. Louisans, neighborhood by neighborhood. This is revised, updated, and spring cleaned, and it's by Amanda Doyle. And Amanda, this is the second edition?
Second edition, you got it.
How did I miss the first edition?
I'm going to have someone fired as soon as I get back to the publisher. I don't know. No, it was a raving success. Maybe it sold out before you got one.
Okay, good. How long ago did the first one come out?
2 years ago, and it really did sell very, very well. And so we realized people might buy a second edition were we to update it. And so I spent about half a year putting in all the new stuff, taking out all the old stuff, and now, voila, second edition.
You also wrote the book, 100 Things to Do in St. Louis Before You Die.
That is true.
Yeah. So clearly you've found your niche, right?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
That's my market. What do you think?
I love it. I love it because coming back from Alaska and seeing so many things that say locally owned, locally produced. I don't want to go to Alaska and buy something made in China. I want to go to Alaska and buy something made in Alaska so I can bring it home.
Right, and you don't need to go to Alaska and go to the mall because it's kind of like our mall.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So you want to sort of experience Alaska.
Sure.
And as we go forward in this experience, more and more things are being ripped from the local flavor.
Right.
Radio, television, all of those things. It's nice to see that so many people still embrace things that are solely St. Louis.
Well, and it's kind of funny. I think the fact that the first book did so well kind of speaks to that. People are hungry to find things that are authentic to wherever they are. And, St. Louis people love St. Louis. I mean, we really embrace our neighborhoods and all of our unique stuff. So I think it's something we do maybe better than some other places.
Right. And just a quick plug for the Big 550 KTRS. There's so many radio companies out there that, preach, hey, local, but, we're locally owned. We're locally produced. We have more local hours than any other radio station in St. Louis, right?
You are actually sitting right here in St. Louis.
Right. We are sitting here in St. Louis every single day for I think it's 19 hours a day.
Right.
Which is unheard of in the radio world and unheard of here in St. Louis. So we, being St. Louisans, like to reach out to other St. Louisans. So
sure, absolutely.
That's good. All right, so how is this different and changed and spring clean from the first edition?
Wow. Well, so, of course, books being the ancient artifact that they are, the minute you put something on paper, it'll change. Right. So I went through and took out, thankfully not that many, but a handful of places that had closed or moved or substantially changed in some way. But there are about 195 new places. And the book does cover the entire region. It goes all the way from the western burbs across to the Metro East. So it was kind of refreshing to see that there was enough to really make a big difference. A lot has happened in 2 years. The big stuff like Ballpark Village, Missouri Civil War Museum, all of these are places that that folks want to know about that weren't around when we did the book 2 years ago.
Yeah, and you break it down to each neighborhood more or less.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea. It's like if you the great places in your neighborhood, and so if a friend comes over on the weekend, you'd be like, oh, let's go to my local coffee shop, or we can go have lunch at this great place I know about. And those aren't places that get a lot of play necessarily outside of their little neighborhood markets. Mm-hmm. So the idea was to show people that kind of off the beaten path stuff in every neighborhood.
One of the things, I just moved out to St. Charles, and one of the things that I'm struggling to do is to find local places in St. Charles. They're sort of so better known in the city and the county and the Shaw neighborhood and South County and the Hill.
Right.
But you kind of have to really go and hunt for them in St. Charles because I don't know if there's not as many or they're just sort of hidden gems or I just haven't lived there long enough.
Well, and it's probably, too, a question of, like you talked about the city neighborhoods, they're a lot more dense. So if you're walking or driving around your city neighborhood, you're going to see more in a square mile than you do in some of the suburban areas.
Right. Yeah.
So chances are good that you'll come across a place like that. But also, what's something you found in St. Charles?
The Barrel Barn. Have you seen that? It's on Highway N. This is unbelievable, this place. I told Kat Neville about it. The Barrel Barn, I believe.
Okay.
It's a wine bar. It's a wine store and a bar. And what they do is it's right past Highway K. So it's on Highway N, just past Highway K.
Okay.
As you go up to like Bryan Road. And it's they will smoke your cocktails for you.
Wow.
So what they do is they take your wine glass and they light a piece of wood, whether it's cherry or whatever, And so the smoke comes off the wood. They put the wine glass down, capture the smoke, and then turn the wine glass over and then pour the wine into the smoked glass.
Wow. You got to be quick to keep that smoke down in there.
And then
right?
you taste it, and the taste is like something you've never seen before or tasted before. It's fantastic.
Okay, so 3rd edition. I'm putting that in.
Third edition. Yeah, it's really, and it's a nice place. It's right there. It's totally quaint, totally original, totally St. Louis. That's a great place. And then of course you've got Menino's Meat Market out there,
right,
and BMO's and all that. So I mean, they're out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you really gotta, outside of my one little stretch, you really gotta go out and you really have to go out and look for them.
You got to dig. Well, it's so funny. People, whenever I talk to people at book signings or anything like that, and they always say, "Are you from St. Louis?" And I'm not from St. Louis originally. And they say, I think that's what it takes. It's got to be somebody from outside, because when you come here, you have to really kind of dig around and find your stuff. So you're kind of pioneering that in St.
Right.
Charles.
Well, and you drive through Chesterfield Valley, and you're like, okay, this is great, it's nice, but there's outside of Annie Gunn's,
right,
there's nothing out there that's sort of local.
Right.
So you really have to, there's a couple of that East Coast pizza out there and stuff, but, it's really, you have to be willing to look past the franchises and the food chains to find that sort of hidden gem.
And past the easy stuff. Yeah,
right.
There's a place I found, it's not a food place, but a place in St. Charles County that I just am amazed by, that I want to send everyone to. Have you been to Indian Camp Creek Park? I
have not been to Indian Creek Camp
Park. I think it's the largest park in St. Charles County. And if you've got kids to entertain, it is amazing. They have boardwalks around all of the ponds and little sloughs and swales and stuff, and the kids can go out there. They have all these sand areas that kids can just dig in. That's what my kid would do.
Where is this place?
It's the actual address. Hold on, let me give it to you here. It's about a mile west of 61 on Dietrich Road.
Okay.
So it's in the far stretch.
And this is in the book.
Oh, yeah, it's in the book for sure.
Right.
And it's got Bob Castley has some sculptures out there. So if you get out there and you see some Castley frogs, you're in the right place.
Now, what is it? Did you do this yourself? Did you have a team, a staff? How did you go about putting this together?
The first edition, which was the bear to really do the first time, it was mostly me. I did have some help from a couple of folks, Carrie Bonish and Don Cordy. But my day job is that I work for Where Magazine, which is the visitor magazine for St. Louis. So okay. I do some of this professionally anyway, keep up with St. Louis stuff. And the rest of it gave me a great excuse to just get in my car and go. So I would just drive around all these places and ask friends who lived there, what's the hidden gem in your neighborhood, or where would you take me if I came from out of town?
And so you've been in St. Louis how long?
17 years.
You got married with somebody from St. Louis?
How'd you know?
And that's how it happens.
Fell in love with the St. Louis boy, and we moved back here because we had no better plan. And now look at me, 17 years later.
And so when you started this, you had a good sense of St. Louis to start with.
I did, but it took, like I said, I had been doing my day job for 15 years before I started that.
Right.
So.
What were some of the hidden gems which you discovered yourself writing this book?
Oh, wow. Let's see. One of the craziest things I think that everyone needs to know about, if they don't, is Bob Kramer marionettes in the Central West End. It's an old time, marionettes, puppets on strings,
right,
kind of thing. Bob Kramer and his partner Doug create these things. It takes like 1,500 hours to make one marionette. And they have working eyelashes and shoes, and they're really bizarre looking. And they put on marionette shows for kids. What's funny is they haven't really changed their material much in the last 30 to 40 years. So their puppet shows still are centered on jokes about Carol Channing, and and it's completely lost on the kids, but they still love it because there's a duck talking to them, So and it's in like this old kind of semi-creepy mansion on Locality in the West End.
And that's a pretty neat story. I don't think I knew about that.
It's worth going to just for the experience.
All right. What else did you find along the way?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. What are some of the other things I like to tell people about? Well, this is kind of new, actually, to the second edition. Chocolate Company has finally opened up their factory for tours.
Okay.
So if you go to the Hill neighborhood, it's on the north side of 44 from the Hill.
Okay.
But you can go in and take a tour of the chocolate factory, very Willy Wonka, stand there and watch the conveyor belt move, and you get samples.
Right.
That's always good. They show you the big copper pot that they started in, umpteen million years ago. So
Right.
that's a fun thing to do, too. I just like to, one thing I like to do that I don't do enough of, but that I discovered really writing the book was sort of all the outdoor recreation stuff that we have access to in St. Louis. Because I don't think people think of St. Louis as a very outdoorsy place necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But up by the confluence of the rivers, there's a lot going on, and you can kayak on the Mississippi River if you are a brave soul. You can go over to Grafton, rent a kayak, and be out there dodging, I guess, barges. But I'm assuming they have a safe place marked off for you. And the Audubon Center, which is a big bird migratory place up by the confluence of the rivers, is really cool as well. It's all these birds, migrate over our area because of the rivers and the swamps and stuff that we have. So
yeah, your book, a locally produced guide to St. Louis by and for St. Louisans, neighborhood by neighborhood, isn't just restaurants.
No,
it's much more than that.
Yes, it's there are sort of listings are the part of every chapter. So there's descriptions of restaurants, descriptions of shops, and descriptions of things like theaters and cultural opportunities. Then there's also a little bit of history of each neighborhood, some trivia. One of my favorite things that I found out, I live near Tower Grove Park, was that Steve McQueen filmed his first movie, The Great Southwest Bank. Well, it was called the Great Bank Robbery when it was filmed.
Right.
They filmed a lot of that in Tower Grove Park, and so you can kind of go and see.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
It's amazing.
It is awesome.
Yeah, that Southwest Bank right there, which is now whatever. BMO Harris.
No, it's something else since then. It's
okay.
M and somebody else, but
M and I, or whatever. Anyway, it's right there on Southwest and Kings Highway.
Yeah, and a lot of the people who were extras in the movie were people who were involved in the day. So the cops and the people who reported the heist and everything. So it's kind of fun. I mean, just little tidbits like that are fun to find out.
I did a show about that once.
Oh yeah.
Years and years ago.
And were there people still around who remembered it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the daughter of it was also pretty famous because it was like the last great bank robbery with a shootout.
Yes, exactly.
And so they did this movie, this Steve McQueen movie called the Great St. Louis Bank Robbery.
Right.
And the opening scene is of them coming over the Eads Bridge.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, where's the arch? Oh yeah, wait a minute, this is before the arch was built. And we had people call up who was the daughter of the mother who rented the flat to the bank robbers.
Wow.
We had the DA call up from years ago who had all the files. It was really, really interesting show.
That's cool. Yeah, it's fun to watch. So they sort of retreat to Tower Grove Park to regroup, and make their plan. And they're sitting at a bench and a patio table that's probably still there. It's just amazing.
All right, Amanda Doyle. The book is called A Locally Produced Guidebook to St. Louis by and for St. Louisans, neighborhood by neighborhood. Where can we get the book?
The book is available at finer retailers like Left Bank, Barnes & Noble. I think it'll be in Sam's and Costco by the end of the month if you're driving out through the Chesterfield Valley, speaking of.
Right.
And the Missouri History Museum gift shop.
Beautiful. Online, is there a website?
Yeah, actually, you can go to readypress.com for the main book information, and then the book has its own website, stlguidebook.com.
stlguidebook.com. Any book signings coming up here anytime?
Yeah, on the 26th, on August 2nd, from 1 to 3 at Christopher's in Kirkwood.
Okay, good. And then the website one more time for all the information.
Sure, stlguidebook.com, or you can find it on Facebook.
stlguidebook.com. Amanda Doyle, great work. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.